Well, hey, welcome back to the Trampled Underfoot Podcast show. What's going on, Mark?
Very little, very little. No, actually, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, but
Uh-oh.
right at the moment, very little. Yeah, we're getting ready to take a little road trip tomorrow, so I'm trying to, get everything prepped. I'm going to be missing basically 3 days out of my normal schedule,
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm trying to get ahead for this weekend, and it's coming along. So, just getting a lot behind the scenes done. How about in your neck of the woods?
Well, I bought some tuna salad.
Sweet.
hence my hence my title name here in the. By the way, we do this live every Tuesday at 9:30 Eastern and 6:30 Pacific Coast over here on our YouTube channel, which is the Trampled Underfoot Podcast on YouTube. And so if you ever want to check it out over here, but obviously you're listening over on one of the main streams, be it, I don't know, Spreaker itself, or what are the other streams that we...
Oh boy, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on iHeartRadio, we are on Stitcher, you name it, we are everywhere. Even if you're not listening to the Trampled Underfoot Podcast, our voices are going through you like a convenience store burrito.
All right, with that said, nothing. I bought tuna, and boy, I ate the tuna, and it knocked me on my butt. I was sleeping. I did a siesta, a world famous siesta, and as I drifted off, I just couldn't help myself, dude. I couldn't help myself. And siestas, I am okay with siestas. I am perfectly okay with siestas.
I can't do it, man. I can't do it. I have tried. I've tried the 15-minute or 20-minute power nap, and they turn into like 4-hour marathons. I can't do it. I have to stay up and keep moving. Otherwise, I'm going to sleep for a long time, and then my schedule goes right out the window, and I'm up till 4 a.m. when I can't do anything because I can't wake anybody up,
They've done studies where they can actually point to people that have. So it's a funny thing because I signed up for one of those sites that they take you through all the studies and they give you the results. And they can be the silliest things. It could be whatever scientists want to study. They'll gather all that DNA from those individuals. And let's say they want to study, do people sit in the upright position and hang to the left when their afternoon rain is coming down and the windows are, and then they'll do a study and they'll gather like 500,000 people and they'll put them through that. And then the results, well, so you get all these weird things and then you get some interesting ones. And a few months back, boom, it popped up. I think I showed you when it popped up because it was so fucking, it was so funny. It was so funny. Boy. And so what happened was, so sorry. What happened was that, boom. Are you more likely to sleep are you more likely to become drowsy and take daytime sleep? And the needle, it can go from 0 to like extreme. And those, those radio meter went click to the extreme.
Yep.
You could hear the metal hitting. Click.
Yeah, the little end of the thing is bent where wrapped around the peg, Yeah, I hear you, but that happens and it gets worse when you get older. Let me just give you a fair warning now, okay? It's not going to get better because I'm the same way. If after dinner, it is all I can do to stay awake, for about a half an hour after I eat, I all of a sudden, it's just, oh my God, the sleep monster jumps on my shoulders and just beats the holy heck out of me. And I just fight it to stay awake. And then about an hour and a half later, I'm awake again and everything's okay.
Is this during the day?
This is in the evening after dinner.
Oh, okay. So you get that lull.
Yeah, I get that. I call it a 7 o'clock slump because my metabolism goes from, normal active kind of person to turtle with arthritis. I just don't want to do nothing. I just go, oh.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, a lot of back in the day when we were all kids and happy and running in the playground and falling forward and sliding our our palms of our hands across the gravel and climbing up the monkey bars and the hexagon metal domes
Oh yeah.
and the swings and whatnot. Um, the whole thing was different kids had different behaviors, and some things were obviously problem behaviors, and some things not so much, and so there was all this variety in kids, and you would always be told, depending on what it is, you got to do this, you got to do that. But to me, my opinion, they're doing studies constantly, but I'm noticing a lot of it is genetically induced, which it doesn't account for the complete picture, but it's something. So that would have been a good excuse back in the day for many of these things. Well, teacher, I'm 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 prone to cheat on tests, or teacher, I'm prone to get detention every second Friday of the month,
Hmm.
for
Yeah.
skipping out on school, stuff like that.
Yeah. It's oh man, it's some oddball stuff. I mean, and if you've got more than one person interested in anything, somebody's going to start studying it, especially if there's a grant involved. If you can make money off it, they'll study it. But somebody has got a message forum for it. Somebody has got a uh, Facebook group for it, and somebody else has got a YouTube channel on it. They're studying everything.
Yeah.
And I just wait for the day that they discover that cancer is hereditary in white mice. And all the stuff they have banned, they have to take off of that list now.
What is
But
it? Proposition 8 or something like that?
I don't know. I don't
Out in
know.
the West Coast or
Oh,
California?
there's California. Yeah. I mean, they have to, you have to be warned if something can cause you cancer. Newsflash, Professor Plum, life on the planet Earth causes cancer. We're all going to die, baby. It's just, we're all just waiting for the right time.
Which leads me to the topic that I wanted to share and see where it goes. Obviously, you can divert it into any direction, but
We'll see.
that might be true for human beings, my friend. The
Hmm.
whole finite timeline of human beings. But how about the lizard people? Because you see, we don't know their lifespan. Last week or the week before last, you said that I want to bring up a few things about this topic, and that's what I had in my head. I do have some thoughts to add to the thing, but I'll just throw that at you and see what you
Well,
do with it.
I got to admit that I dropped the ball big time. I really did. I was going to go back and listen to that episode, and I just never got the time. So I'm going to be straight up front with everybody here. I don't remember what I said. So if I contradict myself, hey, it's me. You know,
Yeah,
I don't remember what I said in that episode. That was a couple of years back.
yeah, but remember, you don't. So it's not so much. So like, let's say we did that a couple of years back, and now we're talking about it now. And let's say in the conversation back then you said a set of things, but now you're saying a set of things, and within that set of things today, there's variance.
Sure.
It doesn't necessarily. It's not. At least if you're a reasonable individual out there, I don't think that you would perceive the person as being shifty, or it's more of a
Yeah,
thing of as time goes. You know what I'm saying? You get the
yeah, I
point.
do. I'm just gonna, forewarned is forearmed. I'm not as up on the subject as I was then. I was kind of reading about it at the time so that I would have certain facts straight, like pronouncing people's names correctly
Yeah.
and things like that. And I'm just not there. So I'm open to talking about it. I think my attitude on it already. And it all comes down to, I remain a skeptic. But I think that the whole reason David Icke and the whole reptilian thing came up in the first place was it was to be used as an example of evidence-based,
Conspiracies.
science or medicine or anything like that.
Yeah.
And basically backing up a theory. You can have a theory about anything.
Yeah.
But the preponderance of the evidence and the type of evidence, the amount of evidence, and a few other factors thrown in there is going to decide the veracity of that theory. So, I could have a theory that the moon is made out of blue cheese. I don't have any evidence. Now, it's fine to have that theory, but until I come up with some evidence to prove that theory, I'm just kind of there. I'm the one making the claim. So, it's if I'm the one making the claim, the burden of proof is on me. If someone else is making the claim, the burden of proof is on them. The burden of proof is not on me. I'm not out to disprove anybody. I'm just saying, show me what you got. Maybe you'll change my mind.
So one thing that I would ask people that are hard, on that theme, this theme, and that so you can think something is true, like you were saying, and then there's a situation of you think something is true, but you have to transmit the veracity of that to the next individual in order to pass it along. And how do you do that when you just say from the planet Icarus 19 in the year 3000 Dexon, there were 3 flight space monster attendants, one of them called Tracy, and they landed on Neptune, but they figured they could make the rounds and travel to Earth, and they laid their pods over in, I don't know, Turkey, and then now lizard people roam the Earth. So if you give me that layout, okay, how'd you get to that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that may be an exaggeration of what they tell, generally speaking, but it's as valid as what they tell, because you can't claim effectively that there are lizard people roaming around that look like us, that are shapeshifters,
right?
And there's no where's the darn evidence on that history of that? Now, years ago they used to have these videos that they like zoom in on like newscasts of politicians,
right,
and they get close to the eye, and the closer you get to an image that you zoom in with video, the more pixelated it becomes, and then the eye, the round pupil, would become like a little pixelated slit, and they'd use that as evidence, and you could clearly understand that there's a situation now. Maybe the pixels are helping and it's shining, the true, idea. But to me, it's the whole lizard thing. Besides the fact that there are lizard paintings and sculptures and things throughout history, but then again, there's other creatures as well. It's just a silly financial and just fantasy thing that people that don't. I'm not professionally skilled in the art of perceiving of, if there is such a class, and that there probably is, of correctly dividing and splitting up reason, evidence, and so on and so forth. But I kind of know not to buy snake oil from a snake oil salesman most of the time.
Especially a reptilian snake oil salesman.
Yeah.
I mean, that may be his brother-in-law in that bottle. But anyway, this is going to go down. I mean, mark your calendars, y'all. Believe it or not, I'm slightly a little bit more open-minded than you are on this one in this regard. No matter how preposterous it may seem, if you can give me evidence, you may change my mind. And I don't mean something like that zoomed in photograph like you're talking about. You know how many UFO reports came out of the CCD in a video camera. When you focus in certain light conditions and you zoom in real tight, you can actually get the reflection of the charge coupling device within the camera. You can get a reflection on the inside of the lens,
Oh, I
and
see.
it's a perfect diamond shape. And experts know to look for that diamond
You're
shape.
talking about the recent space
I'm not
oddity.
talking about the no. I'm talking about back in the in the heyday of the VHS camcorder sitting
Mhm.
up on your shoulder when CCDs were fairly new and digital cameras were fairly new. There are certain lighting conditions that if you zoom in real tight on something like a seagull flying in the air,
Mhm.
you'll get a little diamond shape in the middle, and that's actually a reflection of the CCD behind the lens that converts the image to a digital information. You'll get that reflection off the back of the lens, and the CCD will pick up its own reflection. And folks now know to look for that. But it give me fact-based evidence and give me a lot of it, because I anecdotal information doesn't cut it. Well, a friend of mine said this. Well, a friend of mine said a lot of things.
Mhm.
So, give me direct evidence and you may change my mind. But I'm that way with just about everything. I remain skeptical. Now, a lot of people want to bring spirituality into this and say, well, where's your evidence of this, that, or the other? To me, they're two completely different things. I do believe that spirituality and science can coexist side by side. I firmly believe that. And I firmly believe in a creator. But it's the preponderance of the evidence. It's how much, the volume of the evidence that makes me believe that. And that's why they call it faith, you know?
Right. You can have the faith in the lizard people, and
You
you could
certainly can.
you could chalk it up. You could
And
chalk it up
that's
to
why I
religion.
don't insult these people, is because that's their belief. Great, run with it. But I'm not the one making the claim. I don't have anything to prove. David Icke does. He's the one making the claim. And when he shows me evidence, he may change my mind. I just haven't seen it.
The
You know?
truth is, though, there's enough people out there. Everybody, I'll include to a certain degree everybody
Mhm.
with any given subject that's a mystery. Humans will gravitate to one direction or the other in speculation and so on and so forth. But there's
Sure.
enough people out there that will believe an extreme scenario, and by extreme I mean something that can't be proven.
Right.
And you could do that because you could make the argument that religion can't be proven and so on and so forth. Or whatever specific spiritual scenario. Um, so there's a gray line in all this,
There
but
is.
there is a gray line. But here's the thing, we don't hang our so we have to function, and because we have no choice. We are limited to what we have the ability to sense with all our senses and stuff, and then crossing that that line is the unknown and the speculative and the fog of whatever. Um i i I can definitely say that I believe, notice the key word is believe,
Right.
that all that we see is not all that there is, meaning there's something to spirituality.
Sure.
But I won't go further than saying I believe that, and that's just my take. But I'm not going to, as we've said before, force that on you or command soldiers
Right.
to enter the town
Right.
and quadrant off the area and put everybody into the garage and frickin' feed them like cornmeal for like 9 months until they decide to. Yeah, so there's a difference with what you believe for yourself, and you could discuss that, but the use of coercion and force and manipulation or fraud is out of the question. So you know.
Yeah.
So
What I believe is what I believe. I'm not trying to force it on anybody, and I'm not trying to convince you that I'm right. Because to be honest with you, I have just in the last, however long we've been on here, I have put out in public more about my spirituality than I ever have anywhere at any time, whether
yeah,
it be anything recorded or just speaking to. I mean, you now know more about my spirituality than my wife does. And I've been married to her for 33 years because I firmly believe, and I mean, this is no insult to anybody, that it's nobody's business. Your spirituality is none of my business. That's why I don't ask you about it. And I just don't bring it up.
yeah,
And I believe that my spirituality is nobody's business. So I don't talk about it. It's just not a topic that's open for discussion to
yeah.
me because it's
I
nobody's
get it.
business. So, um, but when you make a claim and you are trying to convince me of something, again, the burden of proof is on you. It's not on me. I don't have to disprove you. That's not my job. I'll listen, present your evidence, state your case, and move on. But something that comes back to me all the time, and it doesn't matter if you're talking about reptilians, the lizard folks, or you're talking about the moon landing, or you're talking about flat Earth, or you're talking about chemtrails. I keep coming back to one idea that nobody has ever really given me a cogent discussion about, and that is, let's say you're 100% right. Let's say that what you are saying is absolutely a fact. Now what? Now
Yeah,
what? What do we do? I mean,
you can say, but here's I've always had. You've said this before.
mhm,
And the answer to now what depends on what's real, what was discovered, or what conspiracy was true. It would depend. But in a
mhm,
broad sense, saying now what means we still have to function.
yeah,
And what are you going to do? So, like,
yeah,
let's say, so imagine in the night sky, a tiny blip appears, which is a
mhm,
comet, and it's heading towards Earth. And then the scientists calculate out in 10 years, that little dot is going to be this big because it's going to be hovering over our atmosphere and it's going to crash straight into whatever. So now everybody knows that little blip is coming to get you,
right,
and they have time to prepare and see, hey, maybe we can nuke it out of the sky, maybe we can, but we don't know for sure if they are going to be successful.
mhm,
Now the world has 10 years to work on that. What becomes not important with that knowledge?
uh-huh,
Okay, see, this is an I guess an allegory, or it's an allegory to say your life.
mhm,
There is a finite,
sure,
like we meant, um, and so, but with on the newscast, this will hit in 10 years, and then a year later, we've got 9 years to go, folks, and stuff, and it's something that they couldn't keep under wraps so that people function, and at the end, so what would be important to people
mhm,
and what wouldn't be important to people with that knowledge of that, and the light is there constantly in the sky. See, I'm sure I'm sure that I'm sure that a lot of people, not everybody, but people will go in different routes. But what do you say?
um, I think life as we know it, society as we know it, and human civilization as we know it would completely fall apart. You're going to have a certain number of people that are going to try to work on a solution to the problem. Like you said, nuke it, strap rockets to it, and alter its course, whatever. There's going to be 52,000 people trying 52,000 different things, and more power to them. You're also going to have other people who are going to live life the same way they always have. You're going to have other people who have decided that 10 years, what have I got to lose? We're all going to die. I'm going to spend the next 10 years doing whatever the heck I want to do. I think it would be the collapse of society. the collapse of civilization.
Let- let-
Because unfortunately, I think there's more of those people than there are folks who would just say, well, okay, maybe I can get this project done before that happens, or,
okay, so
you know,
you fear that it would be the collapse of society, and what's interesting about that is that it's a perfect statement, at least in my mind, because as it stands now, all of this, unbeknownst to people because they're involved in their daily important
mhm,
things, which are important to them. We're not,
mhm,
but in the context of beginning and end,
mhm.
what the hell does it matter anyhow? It
Exactly.
matters. It matters at some level, but in the asteroid coming at you level,
Yeah.
does it matter? No. So, yeah. So that little saying is an interesting one. Society hangs on a string,
It does.
even as we sit here now.
Yeah, exactly. The sword of Damocles is always going to be dangling over our heads because we just don't know what piece of space debris, comet, asteroid, whatever, another planet is heading this direction. I mean, the they're doing everything they can to kind of keep an eye open. But I mean, the universe's destiny has been decided long before we came along. And we are, I won't say powerless, but our ability to do anything about it is extremely limited. And I think just in the sheer numbers of people who are just going to decide, why bother with going to work when everything is going to be gone in 10 years anyway? It doesn't matter if I make another 10 widgets today. Who the heck cares? Suddenly that truckload of 2x4s that you were hoping would show up at Home Depot just doesn't matter, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Um,
Well,
and
wait. Not
people,
even that. The Home Depot employees could give a
right?
crap too. It's just the whole.
Exactly. Yeah,
Nobody would give a crap.
exactly. I mean, you want to talk about Monday and Friday absenteeism, Katie bar the door, look out. I mean, and that's what I mean, societal collapse. There will be so many people that just disappear from their jobs. There are going to be people hitting on people they always wanted to date and never could. There are going to be people who wanted to go someplace they never could. They decide, what the heck, I want to go see the Grand Canyon before it's gone
There's
and
gonna be a
I'm
lot of
gone.
there's gonna be a lot of people toppling through into the chasms across
Oh
the world.
yeah. Oh my, oh yeah. And it's
Yeah,
going to go in 15 different directions all at the same time. The born agains will have their day, you know.
yeah.
The folks who believe in the zombie apocalypse
That would pretty much.
will, start prepping. And you're always going to have that one guy who's going to like bury a diesel tank in his backyard and convert it into a 3-room condo. And just, I mean, people are people. They're going to do what they think they can to maybe survive. But you're also going to have that certain percentage who are just going to say, what the hell, nothing matters, I'll do what I want. I mean, you got people doing that now. I mean, if we started this off on a high note, let's say you did discover you had cancer and you had maybe 6 months. It was that advanced. They couldn't do anything for you. What do you do? I mean, obviously you make sure your family is taken care of, but now what? Your time is limited. So do you go take that trip to the Grand Canyon? Or do you just say to hell with everything and sit on the couch and watch TV, drinking whiskey all day? I mean, people are people. Their emotions are going to guide what they do. So,
The idea of people across the world knowing, but okay, so the gist of it, to get on with life, and there's different levels of understanding in people across the board, is that they know certain things, but they ignore it or pretend it off.
yeah.
Because if reality straight out the gates, just pure reality, is very cold. You know, at least from our perception sense and what we know. It just
Hmm.
it exists. I mean, look at a chicken in a field
Hmm.
being picked up for dinner that evening,
Yeah.
or an egg that never hatched, um, or wild coyotes, you know, ripping up their prey. Um, you know, there's a coldness to it,
Hmm.
or sterility to it. Just, you know, and so what people do is that they pretend, and so different levels. So if certain people have conversations, like let's say this one, um, that's a bit uneasy, there's no joy in it for certain people.
No.
For others there is. So, you know, the massaging of the ideas in the brain intellectually, is a good exercise in some people's esteem, but for other people it's like, why bother? Look at the Simpsons. And you can have the Simpsons and you can have the other thing, you know, and people usually do have a balance between all those things,
Hmm.
you know. But
Right.
some people, the balance is a little bit more towards the cerebral, others not, and in different moments and stuff. So there's all these variations, but at the end of the day, society does hang on a string,
Hmm.
because and the fact that we pretend,
Hmm.
I can't find another, or put aside certain truths,
Well,
helps the whole thing function. Because
we
if everybody, hey, look at these brand new jeans, you know, that's the value. I've saved up 50 years for this, you know, or this cottage over here, or this thing, and it's all important. We have to do something, but it's not really important.
right. But see, and that's what separates us from the animals is we have the consciousness to know that. We can determine our own destiny. You know, the chicken running around in the field like you're talking about, he only knows that world and he's not in control of his destiny, because if it ain't the farmer coming after him with an axe, it could be the eagle that's, you know, flying around
Yeah,
looking for something out in the middle of the field.
yeah,
We have a consciousness that allows us to realize. And society is kind of a fragile thing in that you're right, it does hang by a thread, but that thread is made up of unwritten laws of behavior that we have all decided together is this is how we should behave. But when all consequence is
is
removed
right.
and you've got nothing to lose, like in your scenario, 10 years, that's a long time. There are people who aren't going to make it that 10 years. Some of them who are already living and some of them who are yet to be born. There are people who aren't going to make it that 10 years anyway, but it's still, I think it's too far out for that panic to really set in, because there is still the hope that somebody can do something about it. Yeah, I think it's only when they come along 2 years away and say, we've tried everything and this is, you know, a fait accompli. It's going to happen. That thing is going to hit us. You've got 2 years. Enjoy yourself. That's when society collapses, because there are no consequences. All those rules go out the door and it's survival of the fittest. And that's when we see who the truly good people and who the truly bad people are. Now we can only speculate, because nobody knows what their reaction's gonna be. Nobody knows what they're gonna do in that situation until they're put in that situation. I mean,
Yeah.
we can speculate till the cows come home, but until Bessie knocks on the door, we don't know what's going to happen.
I think that for the most part, and this isn't true for every single person, but I think that for the most part, from the most timid, placid individual, non-aggressive individual, all the way to the other extreme of that spectrum, that all humans to some degree are capable of wildly sorted different behaviors and
Mhm.
actions, given the right scenario that that they find themselves in.
Mhm.
In other words, I believe that a great percentage are capable of, uh, whacking someone, just a million
Sure.
things, given the right set of circumstances.
Mhm.
So,
People have the
however,
people have the potential for very good, and they have the potential for evil.
yeah,
And you don't know what's going to happen until you're placed in that situation. I mean, look at the stories about people who were in combat. You have some very heroic acts, and you also have some very cowardly acts. You have butchers. I mean, it runs the gamut. But
well, I mean,
nobody knows until they get put in that situation how they're truly going to react.
do you um think that a person, so there's situations where, like that you're saying, where someone has to kill another person in war,
Mhm.
in a military,
Mhm.
situation, and there's people that can't deal with it.
Yeah.
Um, be, and so the act of taking a life, a human life at that. Yes, there's people that any life, be it animal or even that's why you end up with like vegetarians and all sorts of stuff.
Mhm.
But the majority of human beings kind of agree with meat eating, at least in the Western Hemisphere. There are variations,
Sure.
maybe
There are
not so much
exceptions.
in. There's exceptions, maybe not in like places like India. There's variations.
Sure.
Um, but is that innate in us? Because I think it is. I think even if I wasn't taught that that was bad, and this is an important point, for me, I think, because the idea of, let's say, overburdensome, control of people's behavior is not good either, or the fact that we'd all be monsters if not for all these massive amounts of laws and people watching over us
Mm.
and this and that. But I think that for the most part, human beings, there's an innate thing that you don't hurt another human being, or maybe it's just me.
I
I've
no, I think you're right. I think we can agree that the taking of another human life is an unnatural.
monstrous,
It's an unnatural act.
monstrous,
You
monstrous,
know, a man is not supposed to do that to man. But
monstrous.
there is also the point of self-defense. There is the point. There are several times when I won't say it's acceptable or it's okay. It's just not as distasteful. And
It's necessary.
there have been a lot of studies done on uh, people who have been put into that situation, and the further away you are from the person, the easier it is. Like a fighter pilot can shoot down another airplane because it's an airplane. He doesn't see, he sees it as a target. He doesn't see it as there's a person inside that. You know, a ship is a ship. It's not a bunch of people in that ship. It's a target. So the further removed you are from that, the less it affects most people. And it's the people who have had close contact and been in close combat situations that have the most trouble. And thankfully, I mean, thankfully, there is a mechanism to get these people the help that they need. And it could be a heck of a lot better. And I'm not saying that anything is right. I'm just saying that the mechanism is there and we need to use it and we need to promote it and we need to help these people. Having said that, I think we have all agreed that that is, like I said, just an unnatural act and just don't do it. And that's why there are such severe penalties for it. You know, nobody has the right to take another person's life or injure them in any way, in my opinion. You know,
Yeah, and we've kind
except
of,
in cases of defense, self-defense.
right, and I agree with everything you just said. I mean, there's Usually I try to find the devil's advocate situation,
Mhm.
but on this particular key human like cornerstone of everything, I can't find any devil's advocate. Everything you said is the way it is in my mind, but it's not just my mind. This has been
Yeah.
We've settled on this for quite some time
Well,
now.
I speak for nobody but myself, but I feel confident enough in that. I feel an, I feel confident enough to think that most people think that way.
Yeah. Now there are people that live among us, um, that are humans but have psychological
Yes,
issues.
and there is a disconnect. I mean, there are sociopaths, there are psychopaths. I mean, along uh, every direction in that spectrum. But we're talking about most reasonable people. That's why I say most, the
Yeah.
majority, because there are people out there that just don't feel anything. They just
No, I'm
don't care.
no,
You
but what I wanted to say is that for people that
know?
are generally of the mindset that it's inconceivable to take a life,
Mhm.
there are people that roam among us. I think it's like 1% or probably more, and it's not that 1% or more of the population is committing murders and killing without any
Mhm.
conscience to it, but they have that ability to do so
Mhm.
without any guilt,
Yeah,
and that they exist out there.
yeah,
Um, a lot of them cause a lot of trouble, because it's just a blank canvas when it comes to certain things that we would have, that we worry about socially,
sure.
and all that. So
But
no, let me just say this thing. We as people that don't have that situation walking amongst the small percentage are aloof, you know, and they don't know, and they would not even dream that a person, there's a lot of people that would not even, and that's how you end up with these, like, inside edition, or I don't know, it's sort of crime scene investigation, because people are so trusting
mhm.
that they end up in the back. I don't know. I just sat in the back of this stranger's truck, and he took me out into the fields, and now I'm tied onto this tree here, and there's a
Yeah,
kettle with boiling heads in it. How did I get here?
yeah, yeah.
So you
You
have to
know,
be careful with
yeah,
people.
you can't slap fate in the face, because think about that number. And this is all I was going to interject was, think about that number you just said, 1%. There are 300 million people in the US, a little over. That 1% is still a lot of people. That's
Yeah,
still 3 million people. 3 million people is a ton of people. That's almost the population of my entire state. So, you know, I mean, you can't save everybody. And I know that. All you can do is hope you don't live next door to them when they go off. But just be vigilant, be aware of your surroundings. Don't slap fate in the face, and be a decent person. 99 times out of 100, if you're a decent person to everybody else, they'll be a decent person back. There are some that are going to try to take advantage because they perceive that as weakness. But if you can spot that, you know who to avoid. But if you're a decent person to most folks just, they just want to get their,
yeah,
Cocoa Pebbles and go home.
yeah. Well, everybody's playing a board game where it's to, with the least friction, get to wherever they want to go.
Sure.
You know, like imagine a grid, a city grid. Everybody's running around like ants, but trying to find the path of least in general.
Yeah.
Trying to find the path of least resistance to get to
Well,
where the heck they want to go. And in those little in those little exchanges of conversation or business dealings and stuff, everything's sort of like, everybody's trying to get out good ahead
mhm,
and safely. And so there's a method to our madness worldwide, but not everybody plays at the same level,
right.
nor does everybody have the same goals in mind. You have all these human beings are
Well,
we're
sure.
this is quite the extraordinary, although people might say, it's just human beings, whatever. If you really think about the whole thing, the whole thing is pretty freaking amazing.
Oh yeah. Well, if you have a competitive nature, you want to get to the store before the guy behind you. You want to run that yellow light because you don't want to sit through a red,
Yeah.
And there are some people who are like that. I'm just not in that big of a hurry. There is absolutely nothing besides the emergency room that I need to be. There's no place I need to be, rather, besides the emergency room that quickly. So, yeah, I mean, I'll do the speed limit. I am not in that big a rush to get to the next red light. So, you want to be competitive? You want to whip around me and do 65 in a 45 zone? Speed on, brother. Go get that ticket for me.
Yeah.
I'm just not that competitive. You want to jump ahead of me in line? Speed on, brother. I'm not in that big a hurry to go sit in the car.
Yeah. People are in different stations of life and age groups, and there's different, there's all sorts of different variations there.
But
go ahead.
and I guess it's the one thing that bothers me the most is I keep seeing repeated over and over. We need more people like that. We need more people like that in this world. No, don't stop putting it on somebody else. Be that person. Be that person. Why wait for somebody else?
If everybody
are that way,
yeah,
we have more people that way.
If everybody was like me, if I had that idea, like me, let's say, society would collapse. I could guarantee freaking now. I could guarantee you right now that if there would be no commerce. Because I don't say yes to any. It has to be like there would be Walmarts. but I can't tell you.
See, I'm a free market guy. I mean, I may not be the guy who goes into the as seen on TV store, but if you want to go in there, knock yourself out. I'm not going to prevent you from doing that. I'm a free market kind of guy. If you want to buy purple tennis shoes with red flowers on it, knock yourself out. That's just not my style, man.
By the way, for the listeners that aren't watching, that's not my style either. Just in case.
Just for the record, okay.
Because they might think that they might think that my feet are sitting up on the bench. So look, I'm gonna give you a quick round of question and answer. See what you. So this is you've got two choices.
I've got lots of questions.
Well, just for the fun of the thing, if you want to expand on something, you can. It's not like there's no, but the two choices are, that's funny, because it's true. There's more than just two choices. One choice would be not true, fake, or whatever word you want to use, and the other one is yeah. And I guess you can have a in the middle. But if you had to side with one extreme or the other, is what I'm looking for.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And this has to do with the whole conspiracies stuff.
Are we on the desert island again?
No, but it's just a little list. It's just a little list.
Okay.
So, true or false, yay or nay? We'll start with the big one, the lizard conspiracy.
I say no. And the reason I say no is because if everybody else is right, if all of the claims are correct, we wouldn't be able to stop them. What are they afraid of? What are they waiting for? They could just take over. How would we stop them? What are we going to do?
No, they need. So you can't. They need us.
Sure.
Like you need batteries to turn the flashlight on.
Understood. But you are in control of when you get those batteries. You are in control of what batteries you get. There are several brands out there. If they decided they were going to be our overlords, what's stopping them? We couldn't stop them.
Yeah, but
they have nothing to fear, is what I'm getting.
Okay, see, but okay, all right, fine. See, now I wanted to do a thing, but since you opened up that, but here's the thing. Mm-hmm. You said if they wanted to be, if they wanted to this, if they wanted, you don't, nor I know that what we have now, this gilded cage of sorts. Mm-hmm. Is exactly what they wanted because they're up on these rock cliffs overlooking the Mediterranean, and
Okay.
they're living and then the populace is like going to Walmart,
Okay.
and they're
Okay.
maybe this is the whole setup. Well,
Okay.
I mean,
And let's just say that that's absolutely the case. I come back to my default. Now what? Okay,
no,
we know it now. Okay, fine.
no, I'm
But
saying
but
in response to your,
right,
because
okay,
you said in a future sense,
right.
but you know what I'm saying. Well, whatever, you get what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
so I get it. You're saying that this is what they wanted for us. They're already
Right.
doing all that and everything. And
Right.
so
What
I'm
if this
saying,
is
okay, now what? Now we know it, but does it change anything?
okay? So you have to see.
Hmm.
Um, I know that have to is, we're saying this
Hmm.
loosely, but
Sure.
you have to see, or you should see, the Matrix, the first one, because
I've looked into it. I haven't decided whether I'm going to watch it yet or not. It looks cool, but we'll see.
in that there's one dude.
Hmm.
So you have your Matrix world, which is the world that you and I occupy right now,
Hmm.
in the context of this movie,
Right.
where you have your skyscrapers and buildings and parks and businesses and your coffee
Hmm.
cup and just etc. And you and I talking and whatever. But that's not the real world. That's a mainframe plugged in computer. And what it is that people are in this world in their brain, but in the real world. So they're like looking at a screen in their minds while they're sitting in vats, plugged up, and electricity is being pulled from them
Okay.
for this computer, this world, and there's some humans escaped that dreamlike state and got freed. And they now fight the computers to free other people, but it's a difficult situation
Okay.
because it's a situation, and the robots have, so there's this like cruiser that goes through this real world that's all dystopian, and it's a team of humans trying to free people little by little and stuff. And there's one guy in the movie that betrays them, okay, and he plugs into the dream world to meet the computer, because in the dream world, that's the world we live in, there's actual people that are actual computer composite or computer people, let's say,
Generated. Yeah.
generated, and they're agents
Okay.
to work within the system, kind of like the reptilians working around. And so he meets with one of them at a diner, fine cuisine, meat and stuff, and he's sitting in front of the guy, and he just betrayed his
Hmm.
his human people, and he grabs the fork with a piece of steak, and he's got in his hand a cup of wine. He says, and he takes a bite. I know that this delicious steak that I'm eating is not real, and then he takes a sip of the wine, and that this wine is not real. But I don't care. Give this to me every day. So instead of living in the cruddy sort of like real
Hmm.
world where everything's screwed,
Hmm.
this fantasy world is so much better, and it's an allegory too for many things, even for
Okay.
us in this
Yeah.
world. So
Okay.
whatever.
So now I don't need to see the movie.
No,
I just did that to mess with your
no,
head.
you're right. It is. I did do a spoiler,
Nah, no worries about it. Because
but
I gathered that. I mean, it's not a new movie. It's not like
no,
it's never been out and I've never seen any references or read anything about it.
yeah,
So, I do know some about it. I just have not sat down and watched the whole thing. So,
yeah,
but again, I come back to would it if the lizard people showed up at my front door, knocked on my door right now and revealed themselves to me and proved it to me.
no, they went like this.
See,
Ding
yeah,
dong.
did that, yeah, and said, see, here's your proof. Now shut the hell up. Would it change anything for me?
Yes,
Probably not. It
yes,
would
it
blow
would.
my mind,
Yeah,
but
I hope so. Because if
if
you're
they're
in your
not
row,
ripping off my head and having, playing basketball with it or having it for breakfast tomorrow, and I'm, they turn around and walk away,
no. What if
has
they came to
anything
you?
changed for me?
No,
Not really.
no. What if they did that you just said, you come out with, and you have your newspaper under, like any American movie, you have your newspaper under your arm,
Mhm.
and your and you've got your like what is it? The nightgown? What? Not a night. What is it called?
Bathrobe.
The bathrobe. It's just like a typical and a cigarette in your mouth, and you open the door, and there's this lizard guy standing there, and he
Well, yeah, it
tells you
would blow
that.
my mind.
Okay, but then he says, no, wait, Mark, Lindsay. No, wait, Mark, Lindsay. So he said that, and he said to you, we have to tell you one more thing, just one more. Your great grandfather Lindsay married a lizard woman, and now you are a quarter lizard. You must come with us.
Well,
that would change your stuff, wouldn't it?
Well, if abduction is going to change anybody's stuff, whether it's a lizard person or a psychopath, See, you throw out these extreme situations and go, what about that? Well, what if he only had one leg and 4 toes on the other?
No, but I'm saying so no, but here's the thing. So yeah, at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? There's
I mean, the flat Earth. Let's say the flat Earth.
True or false? True or false on that one? Because that was one of the ones false. Okay, and you're quite convinced with that one.
I'm quite convinced with that.
You've walked the circumference of the Earth. You have crossed.
I don't have to do that to be able to tell the curvature of the Earth. You and I had about a 4-hour discussion about this. I don't have to do that to see the curvature of the Earth.
Okay.
But
so you're sure?
So I say false. Yes, exactly. Okay. But even if it turns out that I'm wrong and somebody proves it, yes, there's an ice wall that goes all the way around and we're under a dome and everything else is fake. Okay, now what? Does it change anything? No, I'm still going to get up in the morning and I'm still going to drive to Portland and I'm still going to do all the other stuff. It doesn't change my life.
I'm going to disagree with you and I'm going to hit you back with something catastrophic right now.
See, you're going to go to that extreme.
No, you don't know.
Instance.
No, you're assuming because of past behavior on my part.
I believe in a track record.
Right, but every now and then somebody can throw you a curveball. You have to be willing to the possibility. Okay. Are you ready for this? I mean, what I'm about to
hit me with your best shot.
Fire now you might not take it. You might sort of like whitewash it a little bit and sort of like. So you might not, but if you were brave and forward with it, you say, yeah, okay, fine.
Get on with it.
So here's, I am qualifying. So you're saying that if they say there's an ice wall all around the Earth, now what? You're just going to have to keep going doing your same stuff because you got all this and that. That attitude you're taking, and I understand where you're coming from, but I'm doing a little devil's advocate situation. Now, what if you ran out of toilet paper at home and there was no more toilet paper across the valley? And in fact, toilet paper no longer was being produced.
We did this last year.
Would that alter the way you live your life in that respect?
In
other words,
not really, because there are alternatives.
But that's an alter. See, okay, this is what I'm trying to get at. You see, you're not saying the beauty of this. So you're saying nothing's going to change, but a lot would change if they figured that
I'm asking what would change. What would change?
If there was no more, let's use the toilet paper thing, or you want to use the Earth situation?
No, I'm using the Earth situation because that's the subject at hand.
Because the other one.
What changes? Because here's my point. If that is the case, it's been that way since day one of my life.
Right. But you just didn't know it.
Yeah. Now what's different? Nothing.
No, there is a lot that's different.
No, there's not much that's different.
My life,
when Neil Armstrong,
one thing that would be different.
No.
Okay.
When Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, it didn't change my life at all. It was earth shaking. It was cooler than hell to watch, but it didn't change my life at all. I still had to go to school the next day. I still wanted that toy for Christmas. I still got a guitar for my birthday. I still got, it didn't alter my life. And finding out that after 60 years, finding out that the Earth was actually flat and not round wouldn't really change a thing.
Well, what I will say to you is this. That you can take that position and you can believe that you're saying,
Mhm.
and I get it. This is what you believe, but no matter if it's the shuttle
Uh-huh.
or if it's the toilet paper or if it's the earth being flat, round, cubical, whatever, no matter what the new thing is that you have now been presented with, the world has been presented with, it is what we call a paradigm shift. And with that brings consequences beyond the scope of your perceived any change, because what happens is it does change the perception and realities of people around you. Maybe not next door, while Joe is sitting there sipping his cup of coffee necessarily in that second, but it creates ripples. It's a paradigm shift and a lot of unforeseen, be it on the level of religion, um, wars, territorial dispute, just
You're talking about things
anything.
that are outside of my control 100%. I'm
But
talking
that,
about my life. You're asking about my life. Yes, outside forces are going to change. That's a given. Okay.
and would that
But
not end up reaching your doorstep?
but again, you went for an extreme case to say that something small like the mailman's going to be an hour later. Yeah, that affects my life. That changes my life. But what I'm getting at is the way I live my life, what decides my happiness is not going to change. Whether it knowing something today that I didn't know yesterday may or may not change my life. I'm the overall decider on how I react to it, you know?
All right, fair
And
enough.
and if it turns out that okay, the earth is flat and there is an ice wall all the way around it and the whole globe thing is just a bunch of BS and it was a lie from the beginning. Okay, fine. What are we having for dinner tonight? You know, it doesn't
But you're not an isolate. You're not
you're at well,
you're not a brick.
yeah,
You're not a no. But you're not. I mean,
mhm,
you're an individual, obviously, but
sure.
you but you're no. I'm gonna have to. I get what you're saying. You're gonna have to keep trucking on. I get that
Yeah.
point, but I'm gonna have to. I guess differ. Agree to disagree in respect. I don't think that we need to just agree to disagree, because I think that there's no way. I don't think that there's no way that you don't get the situation. There's no
I
way.
it,
You know what I mean?
I do know
A
what you
lot of
mean,
a
but
lot of things would change for. I mean, the world,
it
but
would it would
but you
make me rethink my perception of the world. However, on a day-to-day basis, how I live my life, it wouldn't change a thing because I'm still going to get up in the morning. I'm still going to do what I do.
yeah. Right, no, no, you have to,
Yeah.
because the alternative is
Yeah.
what there is.
Yeah. The alternative is what? That's exactly the point.
Right,
Okay. And
right,
that's why I say, okay, now what?
right. I understand. You have to live. So
Mhm.
let's say Mount Vesuvius explodes the second time. You have to live,
Yeah.
right? Let's say whatever the case,
Sure.
you have to live. That
Sure.
is the prime directive.
Hmm.
Period. So okay, so fair enough. So flat Earth, we can definitely put on the
Yeah.
side.
No.
Okay, Sasquatch. Take it. You can
Yeah,
for the yeah
this is kind of weird because I'm in the Pacific Northwest. There are people around here who have claimed to have seen it and stuff like that.
yeah
I haven't studied it. I don't know much about it. I really don't. It just doesn't interest me.
gut
Do I
instinct.
gut instinct? I don't think so because we would have found bones or something like that,
It's a
you know.
smarter way to if you would have said
Now,
yeah maybe man yeah for sure because
no,
there's like
I don't think so. We would have found something by now. We would have found something by now. Now, there are species discovered every day, but they're tiny. There are species down in the bottom of the ocean that we've not discovered yet because we haven't
right.
been able to get down to their level. We know that. But just about every square inch of the forests out here have been explored by somebody.
Here's the next one. You're far from this one, but instinctually, just you as a whole, this is not like one of those tests where if you fail, you have to repeat third grade. It's just just to get the
Mhm.
vibe. And by the way, I've agreed. I should also say on which side. The first one was what the lizard people.
Lizard people, yeah.
I'm gonna go on the ant side. And what was the other one that we said? The flat Earth was the second one, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the ant side, but I'm open to hearing the debate about
Yeah.
it to see if they can break some ground and say, but look at this mathematical or look at this. I'm curious of that, but I'm siding with the ant um strongly.
Okay.
Like there's no issue with me, but I'm open to watching videos of it and stuff because it fascinates the debates and
Yeah.
stuff. But with that said, boom to the side. The
Sasquatch.
Sasquatch, I say as well. There's one over here in Florida called the skunk ape.
Skunk ape. Yeah, I've
What
heard
do
of
you,
it.
yay or nay?
I think that you would have found bones or something, some sort of remains by now. So I mean,
Right.
you know what I think it is? I think what the basis of that is, because I mean, the Native American tribes up here all have stories about it. I think that was a combination of their explanation for things that go bump in the night.
Yeah.
And we, as you know, we spent a good portion of this podcast convincing people how reasonable we are. Adults do some pretty rotten things to kids, and the boogeyman's going to get you if you don't behave.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think there may be an element of that to it too, but it was started way so far back, nobody knows where it came from. It just is. And some of these things were uh, I won't say invented or created, but it was a way they explained what they couldn't explain when something happened around them. Where a rabbit running through the brush, that was too big to be a rabbit. It has to be, an 11-foot tall gorilla.
You know,
But then
we're
again, how long did the mountain gorilla stay hidden? So.
we're pretty. So look, if you think about what we've just gone through, and there's so many more. But if
Mhm,
you think of what we just gone through, we said no. We sided on the side of nah, a lot,
mhm.
not a lot across the board. Um, but but notice that what we don't argue about is that human being, roughly about the size that they are, they're everywhere.
Mhm.
That's pretty. That's an obvious one. Oh, there's Egyptian pyramids. And the difference between hey man, the Tyrannosaurus pterodactyl lizard human from Space Alpha 13. The reason people are going to say, in a general sense, to that is because where the heck, like you said in the beginning,
Yeah.
how do you put two and two together on that one, buddy? But human beings are everywhere.
Show me the evidence.
Look
My
at the Great
mind is
Wall of China. Oh my
yeah.
God, it's there. So now
Mhm,
we know that
mhm.
hey, it's there, and so there's this whole thing. But people, it's
Yeah.
it's that Art
You
Bell.
you're making the claim, and that's fine. Make the claim, but be prepared to back it up with evidence, not anecdotal stuff, because I can tell you some stories that would curl your hair. I just invent them, and say,
Yeah,
but you can't make that stuff up. And I'm like, well, did you see Star Wars? Somebody made that up. People make stuff up. So all I'm saying is if you're going to make the claim, the burden of proof is on you. It's not on me. I don't have to disprove your theory because I really don't care. You have to prove your theory if you want to be taken seriously and come at it with some hard evidence.
yeah.
You
Um,
know,
I'll just say this. How about giants roaming the earth?
what is your definition of a giant? I mean, I met a guy who was 7 foot tall.
You met a
What's
guy that
your
was seven.
Yeah. What
That's
is your
pretty.
definition of a giant?
Would you call that a giant?
I would.
That's pretty freaking huge.
Yeah. We had,
7 foot?
yeah, yes.
It's a tough one. I mean, I have seen like videos and like I've been to Ripley's. It's not like, but it's like, yeah, I'd have to say yes, there were giants. But giants in the context of like a whole, like not just one in a city or town back in the day. I'm talking about like, and these are the giants
A whole
from the
race.
caves, and yeah, like a whole race of giants.
I mean, it's going to sound cliched, but only God knows. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know.
So
I don't
you're
know.
you're not ready to say no to that.
No, because I don't know enough about it to make a decision. You know, I don't know. Does somebody have some hard evidence out there?
Yeah.
Or is it just a lot of speculation? Well, if you look at this, that could only been made by a giant. Oh, really? Have you seen the Great Wall or the pyramids of Giza? Man can make some pretty impressive stuff. You know, when you've got nothing but time, nothing but resources, man can make some pretty impressive stuff. I mean, you only have to look at just, and this was nothing supernatural about it. You only have to look at the Pueblo that the Anasazi made. Pretty impressive stuff for Stone Age technology. And let's be clear, it was Stone Age.
That's in the Americas in Arizona, right? Is what you're talking about?
That's the Pueblo in Arizona. Yeah.
That was
So,
pre-Columbian.
oh, big time pre-Columbian. And they don't know where the people went. They don't know what happened to the people.
Maybe they said, "Hey guys, here comes that, here comes, here comes that flying saucer to take us to the ice wall at the edge of the world."
And maybe that's what happened. Maybe they were the first people the reptilians took as house pets. We just don't know.
Why can't
You
it?
know?
Why can't the truth ever be a race of Amazonian, beautiful Amazonian women, and they've come to subjugate our hearts to them, and they conquer the world in love and tenderness? Why can it never be, in sexy little panther? Why can't that be the? Why does it always have to be?
Dude, are you sure this wasn't an episode of Futurama?
Really?
No. We need to land the plane, man. We could go on forever.
All right.
But it's your edit, so I don't care.
All right, so we'll leave it on the what was it, the leopard print? We'll leave it on that and
All you
Futurama.
have to do to figure out what I'm talking about is Google the phrase "death by snoo snoo," and it'll get you there. SNU, death by snoo snoo. Don't do it,
Death
man.
by Snoo Snoo. Okay, I'll leave it there for later. With that said, folks, listen, we go live every Tuesday, 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific. We're Trampled Underfoot Podcast. Hosts Mark Lindsay and Eloy Escagedo. And we also have a website, trampledunderfootpodcast.com. And if you want to catch our past episodes, we have a button, a tab that's the Wayback Machine tab. You click there when you go to our site, and there's a bunch of past episodes with all sorts of interesting topics and whatnot. So you can check that out. We also have a Facebook page, and over there we usually post, pictures and articles and YouTube videos about the subjects that we find interesting here as we talk about them. And we do want to thank all of you guys out there. We will be having a chat afterwards. So we stay a little bit after, so you know that. And we're also sponsored by
Steve Nealon, the man, the myth, the legend, over at Harneal Media, your one-stop website shop. If you're looking for a web presence other than your social media, you'd like to set up a web store, maybe you have merchandise you'd like to sell. Maybe you'd like to design some t-shirts and maybe a baseball cap or maybe some other items. Who knows? Steve can hook you up with that. He can hook you up with a print on demand service that will take care of the printing, take care of the shipping. You just sit back and count the number of orders that come in. That's Steve Nealon over at harnealmedia.com.
.com. All right. That was good. So listen, guys, have a great rest of the week, and we'll catch you here next time.
Peace. All right.
I waited a little longer so that I don't have to zoom, in as much while I'm editing for my process.
The death by Snoo Snoo was an episode of Futurama where they landed on this planet populated by
Amazonians.
Amazons. Yes.
I don't know why it's always Amazons, but
yes. And Snoo Snoo is what you think it is.
That's great.
That was probably one of my favorite cartoon shows to go. I mean, I would jump over 30 episodes of The Simpsons to watch one episode of Futurama. That was my show. Linda was kind of meh, take it or leave it. But in fact, I've got a bunch of them on DVD still. There's me a new rabbit hole to jump into at night. I'll put on Futurama. That'll work. All right, let's get over here into the comments and see what we got going. We have a lot of folks here. I see we have people doubting whether or not you were going to be asleep when showtime came along.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Let's see here. John Cousins, what if I could? We need a pre-show show. I mean, we are the show. I said I'm all the show you need, John. But I mean, what else do you need? But then he had a question for you. He said, with the ocean right beside you, why are you buying fish?
Oh, you mean having to go and fish? Because people dedicate themselves to fish, and then you go to the store that's even closer and purchase it.
Yeah, he was talking about you buying tuna. He didn't understand why you live right next to the ocean. Why would you buy fish?
Oh, well, you know how that works.
Yeah, because you don't have a tuna boat, and
Yeah, people do go.
Sure.
Like, there's plenty of videos out there, and like there's people that love that stuff, and they go fishing, and this is great fishing, and there's lobsters and all sorts of different things that people do.
Sure.
But I'm not that. I mean, sounds great, but
yeah.
Walmart, man. The answer. Okay, listen. The answer to everything, more than likely, is going to be Walmart.
Go to Walmart to get my fishing license. Yeah.
Almost everything.
Jim Dockrell says he quite often burns out and has a nap in the afternoon. Sometimes I can't keep my eyes open. I think it's something to do with carbohydrates, man, because I get a full stomach and that's just it. I want to take a nap. And I'm convinced, I think I may be wrong here, and maybe I'm generalizing. Maybe I'm a bad person for doing this, but I think that's why in some cultures, the women feed their husbands and
to
sons,
the lions,
and maybe some of them did to the lions, but they feed them so full that they'll fall asleep, take a nap, and they can finally get some peace. I'm convinced of that, man, because I look back at my grandparents and it was that way. Grandma, she didn't know how to make one or two things for dinner. There was a bunch of stuff, even if it was just them two. And she would pack that man so full that within a half an hour, he was laying down in his recliner, laid back in his recliner, snoring away. And she was like, phew.
Yeah.
No, she could not be the only person that done that.
No, my grandmother did that. Both my grandmothers. I think it's just a grandmother. I think it's just, if you think about it, we grew up from people that grew up in the Depression era as well. There was depression in Cuba. Mm-hmm. There was depression all around the world when the Depression was here. It's not just the Depression of the United States. A lot of people lost their life and living and earnings and whatnot. And maybe it's that, hey, we can afford to feed a little bit more. Let's stuff their bellies because let's live it. Come on, everybody. Woo!
Well, it's kind of like Great Britain after World War II. A lot of things were rationed because they were an island nation. Just about everything had to be shipped in. If you can't grow it there, you have to ship it in.
Yeah.
And sugar was one of those things that was rationed. And that ration, it wasn't over at the end of World War II. That ration wasn't lifted until 1952. And then everybody wanted sugar because they had been denied it for close to 20 years. So you had parents out in the streets tipping a box of sugar down their kids' throat just because they could. We can afford it now. We can buy it. We can have as much as you want. Yes, get all the sugar you need. You couldn't take a cereal like Sugar Puffs. You couldn't sell that today. Just the word sugar in
like
the name. Yeah. You'd go bankrupt before you sold your first box.
Just to mention, in the 50s, probably the 40s, I don't know, I'd have to look at the article. There's a clipping in a Scottish paper, and it happens to be that because of that situation after the war, Gregorio, that owned many different sugar mills that produce sugar, just a lot of sugar. He shipped out to all the students and teachers and faculty sugar. So there's a little history point there as well.
Yeah.
To the kids of Scotland, a certain town in Scotland.
Yep. Did you know? Okay, trivia question for you. I was going to give you the answer, but just see if you know. What is Europe's largest exporter of bananas?
Europe's largest exporters of bananas. It has to be someplace tropical because it has to be tropical. Spain, in the south of Spain, there's plenty of space to do that, but I don't see it. It could be Italy. I don't know. I'm trying to win it down. Sardinia. It could be. It has to be southern. Okay, can you tell me if it's Southern Europe?
It's not Southern Europe, and the key word is export. I didn't say produce.
Oh, export.
Europe's number one. What country is Europe's number one exporter of bananas?
And it's not Southern Europe.
No.
England.
Close. Ireland.
Okay.
Ireland, they buy the entire production, the entire
from India
annual production of Belize.
Oh, Belize.
And export it throughout the rest of Western Europe.
Oh, wow. So from Belize,
they buy it all and ship it to Ireland and then distribute it from there.
You know why I gave the answer of why I picked England, because of the connection to India, but they're no longer, I would assume that there's still ties. And that's why I thought
there are some ties, but it's kind of a strained relationship,
Yeah.
It's much like us with them,
If you wouldn't have told me that it's not Southern Europe, I would have had to stay in that region to think. But it's not. That helped a lot, and I wasn't going to say Russia or something like that.
Well, let me throw something at you in that there are places in Iceland where they do grow bananas because of the volcanic activity and geothermal activity underground and everything. It is warm enough to grow bananas in a couple of places.
That's pretty
it's
cool.
It's a rare thing,
That's actually a cool tidbit of information there.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm full of all kinds of useless trivia like that, Let's see here. Rick French says, if the earth was flat, my wife's cat would have already pushed everything off the edge. Yeah, there's some truth to that, because now I don't believe that the lizard people are real, but I do believe that cats are the devil incarnate. Cats tolerate you. They would like nothing more than to just rip you to shreds and eat you, but you're too big.
Oh no, dude, 100%. That whole thing about kitty and this and that, dude. I worked at least I gave them food, and cleaned up panthers, Florida panthers, behind a cage, and
Mhm.
was in the cage in some occasions, but I wasn't the trainer guy, right? So I was just a supplementary worker that would do that for extra money.
Sure.
Apart from the airboat, I said, okay, let's do this. Um, Behind the cage, you could walk up to them, and it's like that chain link, and they
Mhm.
put their head in front of you and their eyes. And when you're face to face with that creature, you've got that screen in front of you,
Mhm.
and you see its face with its muscles and its eyes, and you're staring at it, human to animal, looking at each other. Your curiosity as a human being and your understanding, that's all fine. But you look at its eyes and all it's thinking, you could tell,
Mhm.
is come on, buddy. Come
Smack.
on, buddy. And these are big cats, right?
Mhm.
I would give them chicken through the mesh. You just put like with the bone in it, the whole thing. You know
Mhm.
how they say you can't feed your animals bones, especially if they've been cooked and boiled because they splinter and this and that. Not with these cats. Give them
Cats
a
don't
chunk of
care.
no. You give them a chunk of metal. It doesn't matter. Well, you give them the chicken, and the freaking thing wouldn't. Okay, like if I handed you a piece of, like, let's say we're at Kentucky Fried Chicken. I said, "Oh, Mark, would you like another drumstick?" And you just reach out and grab the drumstick, maybe even with a paper towel
Mhm.
because you're human. Well, this creature, when I would n- nip it right up into the chain link, his head would go, and the thing would start shaking, and he'd grab the thing. Like this whole violent episode that he didn't have to do. All I had to do is grab it. Hey, I'm giving it to you, dude.
Mhm.
I'm giving it to you. Well, no. He was like,
Mhm.
and ripping it, dude.
Yeah.
The 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 intensity of being that close to this creature, um,
Yeah.
dude, dude, we're
And
human because we can make spears, and thank goodness for that.
and I seriously think that if that cute little tabby that's sitting at the end of your couch right now, if he was the same size as that panther, we'd be monkey meat, man. We'd be just toast. You know,
Oh
they
yeah.
tolerate us.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, you know, you walk past a cat on the couch and they reach out and they whack.
Oh yeah, dude. What do
That
you think
makes
they're
me
doing?
want to fill your food bowl. That makes
Yeah.
me get out of my house.
Yeah,
Anyway,
dude. Look. And I've had cats before, and I've given them
so have
love
I.
and chill, but I never once doubted. Like the one cat, the last cat I had here, um, he, he wasn't mean to me at all, but one day he just up and he said, "Screw this place. I'm moving
Yeah.
somewhere." Who knows where he went? But
Mhm.
he did what cats do, and I'm not going to cage the darn thing. In my
Yeah.
case, he appeared. He needed help. He was a little, and I kept him but
Yeah.
I let him go in and out. And one day he just went and left. So
You don't have a cat. The cat has you.
yeah.
That's all there is to it. Rick French. My neighbor mowed my back lawn for me this afternoon. Cool. As appreciative as I am, it threw my schedule for the rest of the week completely off. I could live with that. I guess that's just my OCD. Maybe, but I don't know. I don't have OCD. I don't claim to have OCD or anything like that. But I know that if I have 4 or 5 things lined up to do in a day and one of them doesn't happen for whatever reason, it throws me off as well. And that's because I keep thinking, what am I forgetting to do? I had 5 things, one's not going to happen. Now I got 4 things. What the heck am I going to do? So I understand that. I really do that. Oh,
Multitasking is
sweet.
another feature that's been investigated for, and there is a such a thing as multitasking, but no human can do, um, e- regardless of what people say.
Uh-huh.
Um, you could have a few things stored in your head as you're going and stuff, but scrubbing the table while you're combing your hair, multitasking, and you're
Um,
thinking about apple pie or whatever, it's
I think that whole women are better at multitasking than men are. I think there's some truth to that. But I think it's because when you ask a guy to do something, or if a guy's got a job to do, he will do it so frickin' thoroughly that he doesn't have time or the ability to do something else. Something simple like take out the trash becomes a 15-step process that might take a half hour, because you got to get everything set up right. You pull the bag out, tie the thing off this way. Oh, nope, didn't go get the trash out of that bathroom. Open it up again, go back over to. Wouldn't think about gathering all the trash and put it in the bag all at once. No, got to make 15 trips. Can you vacuum the living room? He'll have all the damn furniture out in the front yard using attachments you've never seen before in your life to get that rug as clean as it possibly can be. Guys don't like to take the car to the car wash because it's over too quick. They miss something. They can't do as good a job as I can by hand in 3 hours in the driveway. So I think women multitask better than men because not that they don't do as thorough a job, but because they understand that there's a point where it's good enough.
Yeah.
Men can't do that.
Have you, so not to pull the curtain or remove the magic illusion from Mark, myself, or any other guy, but have you noticed, and we've done this before, where I say to you, Mark, dude, my room is my office. My office is a freaking mess. I got books over here. I got this and that. I mean, tape measures, just and then you turn your camera. You say, "Well, Eloy, look at that." and so it's kind of like if you put us, like, if you remove everything to the most basic sort of component of a guy, of a man, we gather things that we're going to use,
mm-hmm.
and we place them there. Mm-hmm. And have you noticed that you walk out the door and it could be a year later and a lot of these items are sitting in the same spot you left them, mm-hmm. for a long time. And I think that that's something that occurs a lot because we're meant to hunt and gather. We're not meant to hunt and gather and put in organized.
Well, it just depends, because, there's a lot of truth to that, because when you go to look for something, chances are it's going to be right there where you left it.
Yeah.
Right close at hand. But so I don't got to hunt for it.
But if you go to all these sites and stuff, they're not going to say hunter gatherer and cupboard and cutlery and Tupperware organizers. No, it's just hunter and gatherer. Yeah. You're done.
Not organizer. Hunted. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. There was nothing, and I think that those are things that, and I think it's you see it like with your room, my room, and we're not the only ones. But I can spout off a lot of people that have that. Guys that have that.
But see, then I can go ahead and prove my point about the men do things so much more thoroughly than women. When I do clean out this room here, mm-hmm. I do exactly that. I take just about everything out of here, mm-hmm. vacuum the floor thoroughly, and then bring stuff back and put it in a place where it should go. So it's not just reach over here, pick up the tape measure, put it on a shelf. That doesn't happen. I take everything out of here and then come in and organize. So it'll be a whole day.
But Mark,
maybe
but
two.
Mark, but so you have, let's say, whatever amount of time you leave things to go to, to bits, a mess, hot mess for X amount of months, whatever. And then one day it's clean. But whilst, women will be frequently doing that, they actually maintain a better semblance of organization, and so there is something to be said about that. So hence the multitasking phenomenon.
Exactly. They're better at it because they don't go to the extremes that we do. We get nitpicky and downright. I mean, we'll drive you to drinking, and how we haven't, I don't know. But, hey, that's us. That's what makes us different, and that's what makes life interesting. If everybody was the same, believed the same, and acted the same, how boring would it be?
It would be boring because there's no exciting new discovery.
Yeah. There'd be no reason for conversation. That's why old people eat dinner at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because it's like, what do you want to do today? Kill you. Now let's have dinner. Okay. You know, so it's that way. I mean, you know, you're used to each other. You know what the other is thinking. We do it all the time, Linda and I. I'll say something, and she goes, I was just thinking that. Yeah, I know you were. I know you were. That's
Did
why I
you
said it.
did you know that people in their 70s and 80s, guys, are um what's the word,
Worthless, useless.
no, that's not the word, immune. People, guys in their 70s and 80s are immune to rat poison and other chemical poisons. They've built up a tolerance in their meals. Why won't you just
now,
die?
now, my other half had to chime in. Linda Lindsay says, "Don't know what woman you're talking about. That ain't the way it works in this house." Yes, you are a better multitasker than I am, because I get fixated on something in my brain, and that's all I want to work on. Meanwhile, she can be doing four things at once. I say, "Are you ready to go to the store?" She says, "Yeah, I'm ready to go to the store." I come in here and I sit down, because I know that means when she says, "I'm ready to go to the store," that means she's ready to load the dishwasher, load the washing machine, get them both turned on and everything else, wipe down the counter, and do about 15 different things, write up a shopping list. Then we'll walk out the door a half hour, 45 minutes later.
That's an interesting thing.
So when she says she's ready, it means she's ready to start getting ready. So,
Right. Yeah.
I can't do that crap. When I say I'm ready, I go put my wallet in my pocket, grab my car keys, and then come in here and sit down.
Yeah, ready kind of means I'm out the door. I'm sitting in the car already, and I'm
Uh-huh.
gone. It kind of does mean that.
Yeah.
Hey, are we ready to go? Yeah, and then, yeah.
Well, speaking of ready to go, I think we need to wrap this up. I need to go hit the little broadcaster's room.
Okay, all right. So just last, if women didn't multitask, this is by Arneil. Where did it go? Nothing would happen for 18 years while they raise the kids.
True.
All right.
Absolute truth. They got to take care of too many people to just focus on one thing.
All right, we're out of here. Guys, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you next Tuesday. Have a good one. We're out.
Take care. Thanks for hanging with us.